Hello people of YouTube and welcome to the next instalment for my Narnia Life vlog series. So this is going to be a review of episode 6 of Prop Culture, which is of course the episode that they talk about Narnia on. So I will just be basically going through it, talking about the props they found, what they discussed on there. Currently I've only got 2 episodes left, so I've seen episodes 1 through 6. So I've still, as of this recording, still got episodes 7 and 8 to watch, but they're about completely different films. So of course, this is a spoiler warning if you haven't seen the episode yet. Obviously, I would not suggest watching this. So let's get started then. So basically, Dan Lanigan is the host, and he's done all 8 episodes as far as I know. So he's known for collecting various props and artifacts over the years. He's got his own collection and everything of them. He's a huge film fan, not just of Disney but of all films in general. So the start of the Narnia episode, he actually went to the Walt Disney Archives, which was in Los Angeles, and there he found a sword that was similar to the one that William Moseley used in the movie. He found a sword very similar. Although Dan Lanigan said that there was some small details that were different, and also the tip was actually missing on the sword. So obviously he did ask the guy there. The guy didn't really know, why the tip was missing, or what it was used for. They assumed it was a prototype of some sort, but obviously Dan Lanigan wanted to find out what it was. So he actually took it to San Diego with him. So he took this sword from the archives, and he also took a sword from his own collection, which he had from the movie, and he took them to Sir Richard Taylor. And this was the same day that Comic Con over in San Diego was taking place. So Richard Taylor has produced props for huge blockbuster films, including Narnia, of course, and Lord of the Rings. So the sword, it was said that the sword from the archives, it looks to have been a one-off prop that was used to help promotions. It looked like if you used it to try and stab someone, obviously the tip wouldn't hurt the person, but it'd still look realistic. So that's what they believed the one in the archives was. And yeah, they obviously discussed the making of swords and all the props and all the weapons and stuff like that. So Dan Lanigan then went back to the Walt Disney Archives, and he obviously reported back about the sword. He handed the sword back to them. So he, at the archives, he actually met up with Kieran Chan, who actually portrayed Ginnebrick, the White Witch's dwarf. So he actually met up with him there, and he showed Dan the White Witch's sleigh that they actually had in the archives preserved. Now, it wasn't like a miniature model of it, it was a full-size grown model. Obviously it would have been very temperamental, but yeah, they've got the White Witch's sleigh, the actual sleigh that he used, that Kieran Chan actually rode in the movie. They have that preserved in the Walt Disney Archives. So they were talking about obviously his role. Dan said that his kids, he found Ginnebrick actually more menacing than the White Witch at times. So they had a bit of a chat there. So his next stop to finding archives was in Chatsworth, at the KMB Studios. So this was where obviously they make a lot of crafts, props, and they do a lot of makeup there. So here they actually had various props from the first Narnia film. They had Aslan's head from the death scene, as well as his head from the normal scenes. They had Aslan's fake hair from obviously the main. They had a booklet of fake hair for obviously all the different creatures, like minotaurs, fawns. They had all different types of fake fur and fake hair to use. And they had heads of various different creatures that they used as well throughout the film, so that was quite interesting. So next he went to see Howard Berger, who I believed worked on the first Narnia film, and he had a couple of things from the film as well. he had a Mr. Tumnus display bust, which was basically a big statue of James McAvoy's head, as he would have been like in the first Narnia film. So obviously James McAvoy as Tumnus. And he also had Mr. Tumnus's cap, which obviously we don't see in the film, but basically it was a cap that James McAvoy actually had to wear over his head, so then obviously they could apply the hair and put all the stuff on, you know, obviously the hair and the ears and everything. So this was basically just to protect James McAvoy's skull, so it would make it easier for them to attach all the wig and, you know, do the makeup and stuff like that. So next he went to the Disney studio lot and he actually met up with Andrew Adamson, obviously the director of the first Narnia film. And here they had quite a big of the few props that was used. They've actually got the wardrobe that was used. And Andrew Adamson talked about Georgie here, and he said that in the film, obviously when Lucy first goes to Narnia, Georgie was actually blindfolded when they filmed this, so Georgie hadn't seen anything up until that moment when they filmed. So obviously when she steps into Narnia for the first time in the movie, Georgie's reaction was genuine. It wasn't her just acting, it was an actual genuine reaction on her part. They also have the lamppost, and Andrew Adams talked about the original sketch that C.S. Lewis did, which showed obviously a fawn stood under a lamppost holding an umbrella. And he said that some fans, there must have been a competition or something during the time when they were filming, that some fans were actually allowed on set to view the set, and a few fans had commented that it was exactly how they imagined it, you know, seeing it in real life and seeing it in the final movie. And they also have the frozen Mr. Tumnus statue prop. And Andrew Adamson said that, you know, Georgie was genuinely upset at Andrew after seeing it. You know, she wouldn't even speak to him after when they shot the scene, when obviously with the statues. So that was really interesting, you know, obviously talking about that. Next he went to Long Island, and he went to see Rob and Kerry DeNicola, which I believe Rob was one of Dan's friends, and he's also a collector. So basically Dan went with Rob, and Rob has a full room full of, like, basically props, costumes, everything. You know, he had I think he had like both of the beavers, like the original props that they used for the beavers. He had original costumes for Peter, Susan and Edmund. He had the scene in Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe where he had you know, obviously Tumnus was coming around and with the packages, and he screams when he sees Lucy, and all the packages that he was holding fell on the floor. He's got all the original packages. Obviously there's nothing in them, they're just cardboard wrapped up basically, but he's got the original packages that was used. And yeah, he had so he had some of the original costumes, he had the original props. It was basically a room just dedicated to Narnia. It was like a Narnia's fan's dream to be in there. So Dan had one of the original costumes. He had, I think it was Dan that had the costumes for Peter, Susan and Edmund, but he didn't have Lucy. I believe Dan had the Lucy one. No, Rob had the Lucy one. Well, one of them had the Lucy one, and then one of them had the other three costumes. So Dan borrows Lucy's outfit from Rob, and he said, you know, in return he was willing to give Rob the set, so then Rob would have all four on display in the Narnia room, and they'd be all together as they should be. So that was that. So then Dan went over to Los Angeles, and this is where he meets up with William, Anna and Georgie. Of course Skandar wasn't there. They didn't mention exactly why Skandar wasn't there. You know, maybe he was busy, maybe he just couldn't get over. who knows, but basically William, Anna and Georgie had flown over from England to meet Dan over a cup of tea to talk about, you know, the film and their experiences. So first all three of them thanked Andrew Adamson, you know, because it was him that brought all four of them together, and that's why they're still in contact now. That's why they're so close even now. So Dan shows them some of the props from his collection. So he showed William the shield that he used, and this is when William said, you know, it feels a lot lighter. He showed him the sword as well. So Anna and Georgie actually looked at it as well, because Anna said it actually felt quite heavy. They don't believe they actually was allowed to hold it whilst they were filming. They never actually held it. So of course then you've got Lucy's dagger and the potion flask belt. So Georgie was very excited at this point. It was also mentioned that the belt was redesigned and it was made bigger, so Georgie could reuse it for Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Georgie also remembered at this point that basically when she was reviving Edmund, that she remembers there was some sort of like strawberry pink liquid in it that she used with Skandar. And then he also showed him Susan's bow and the quiver that it came in, and Anna said that they actually used daffodils behind the scenes when they were using it. And also if you look carefully in the movie, Susan's crown also had daffodils on it, so that was a nice little thing as well. So Dan also shows them all four original costumes together, and he also said that internal repairs into the original costumes that were actually meant to show that the parents' original clothing had been like hand mended, or there were hand me downs basically, to show that the family were poor, to show obviously the effects of the war, you know, the time period it was set in. There was also hidden snowflakes on Peter's sweater, alluding to obviously their future in Narnia together. And that is pretty much where the episode ended. I believe that's all my notes that I have on the episode. So overall, I thought it was a brilliant episode, you know, seeing all these props that are still in really good condition. You know, it was amazing seeing, you know, William, Anna and Georgie together. Like I said, I wish Skandar could have been there. It would have been amazing to have all four of them. What I've noticed, however, was that they only talked about the first movie. They didn't really mention Prince Caspian or Dawn Treader that much. So obviously when Georgie was originally teasing this project, there was a photo of Ben Barnes on there, but Ben Barnes actually didn't appear in the episode, so possibly, I don't know if they did do something else to do with the Netflix adaptations. Maybe if Prop Culture gets a second season, because there's currently only one season at the moment, but if it does get a second season, they could talk about Prince Caspian, maybe even Dawn Treader. So maybe they did film with Ben Barnes for Prince Caspian for like a future episode in the next series, maybe. Who knows? But that is basically my sort of going over the episode and basically what was said. But yeah, highly recommend it if you're obviously a huge film fan and you love sort of behind the scenes and stuff like that. Definitely recommend it. So that is that, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, keep checking Narnia Web for any updates on the news, and when there is an update I will do another episode. So that is all for now, guys. Consider liking and subscribing, and that is all for now. I will see you soon. Bye, guys.